What's up, YouTube? Today in this video, I'm going to talk about posture and throwing, and then off of that, kind of like talking about kick wheels versus electric wheels. So I'm here at the wheel. I've got 20 pounds of clay, and yeah, so let's jump in. So what I want to talk about first is kind of the pervasive posture dysfunction in the modern world, and especially in America, and especially in people that work in an office. And the reason that I want to talk about that is a lot of people are getting into ceramics because they want to do something healthy that is not on a screen. And ceramics is very grounding. It's very sensory, it's very continuous, it's low information. So a lot of people that, I knew a lot of people in San Francisco that worked in tech, and they would join pottery studios to do something that felt like more natural and healthy and felt good for their brain, good for their body, and that kind of thing. And that's all very good. That's good stuff. I think that kick wheels are much more conducive to that kind of healthy lifestyle, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So let's just start with what is the pervasive posture dysfunction across the majority of people, not everybody, but most people. And what it is a kind of collapsed neck, and then you get your tight eyes and the tight muscles at the back of your neck, because the muscles at the back of your neck, there's a bone called the atlas that is the top bone of the spine, and the spine's kind of like this, and then the atlas has extra points. And so you have your atlas and all these muscles that connect, that control your eyes and looking around. So people tend to get a collapsed neck where their throat is constricted, the back of their neck is tight, their eyes are really tight, maybe they have glasses, and then they're working like this all the time, and their hands are pronated, and they're very tight through the front of their deltoids, and then everything in the back is overextended. And a lot of people have pain between their shoulder blades because of that, among other things. So you get your tight neck, tight eyes, collapsed breathing. With screen use, there's something called email apnea, or is what it has been dubbed, where people literally forget to breathe and they forget to blink. And so the whole system is breaking down. So you get your collapsed neck, you're like this, pronated, the deltoids get very tight, the chest gets very tight, your arms are pronated all the time because you're working mouse and keyboard, driving, opening packaging, picking things apart, and you get stuck like this. And then people walk around and their hands are kind of stuck here, and they've kind of got this messed up neck posture. And each part of that can be remedied. A lot of tension in the eyes is looking far away and looking at shapes and not just picking bits of information. A good thing for your neck is if you can find the point on top where you can press into your spine and get your spine straight and balance books on your head, walk around. And then people get problems in their chest. So there's muscles that run from your arm bones to your chest. One of them is the pec major, is obvious, but underneath the pec major is the pec minor. And the pec minor runs from up here to your ribs, and it helps to lift the ribs when you breathe. It lifts the chest up and opens space for breathing. And what happens when people get this crunched posture is their breathing collapses, they forget to breathe, and then the pec minor gets tight, and instead of pulling the ribs up this way, because you have tension in the back that lifts the ribs, instead it's pulling the shoulders forward, and you get stuck, and your shoulders get collapsed, and you don't have this widening through the shoulders, and this ability to open up. And so all of those things are accentuated with electric wheels and pottery studios, and in large part a lot of the systems of the world, because people design things to fit their posture, and their posture gets developed based on the environment, based on what's designed. So then over time, over so many years, everything has come to reflect the same posture. So on an electric wheel, people usually throw off the wheel head, they come into the studio and they're leaned over and they're like this all the time, and they're trapping it. And all of the strength is this kind of controlling, grasping kind of motion. And they're here, they're grasping at it. And you never get the ability to open up your shoulders and open up your chest and breathe and feel your whole body. And throwing off the hump helps with that a lot, because the strongest point of this is not strength. Nothing about this is strong. Your strength is here, right in the center. And if you want to squeeze something as hard as you can, it's right here. And so when you're throwing off the hump, you can put the clay in vertical space where you want to throw it. And that's important. And then another thing with working off the hump is that as you throw the clay, you get to work at a variety of heights. So you can avoid some of the chronic stress injuries of throwing everything at the same height in the same place in the same posture. Now, what happens when you get this like pronated, this is pronated, when you put your hands over this way or you turn your feet like in, is pronated. And most people are overpronated across their whole body. And you also get anterior pelvic tilt from that, which is like a whole nother range of problems, knee problems, back problems, like the whole thing. Bad low back. So what happens with this overpronated posture, one thing that's important is in your arm, you have your two bones of your arm, and then there's a tunnel for the nerves and the arteries called the carpal tunnel. And when you're constantly squeezing this way, it puts a lot of pressure on the carpal tunnel, and you get carpal tunnel syndrome. And that's why people that are typing really fast all the time can develop carpal tunnel syndrome. And throwing on the pottery wheel, on an electric wheel, can, if it's not done in a healthy way, cause the same problems. So on a kick wheel, let's start throwing. So on a kick wheel, you can remedy a lot of those problems. And the reason for that is that, I mean, you can already see here, this is much stronger, even right here, than this. You know, and you get a lot of lifting, and you can keep your chest open, and you can lift the clay and then work it in a place that's going to make more sense. Whoa, 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 whoa. Right, so you can see now I'm lifting, I'm squeezing through my chest, my shoulders are back. I'm open. Now, another thing that is kind of important to consider for me is that, you know, assuming that most people are into pottery for the health benefits, you know, there's a few professional potters out there, but not very many. Most people are kind of seeking balance in their life. They're seeking health and development. And a lot of people try a kick wheel, and then they start complaining about it, and they're like, it's hard, like it's the kicking, like blah, blah, blah. And to me, that's kind of like trying to learn to play the guitar and being like, oh, like the chords, they're really hard to press, like I need a machine to do it for me. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, just learn. Like, with enough practice, you don't perceive it as hard anymore because you get better. And so you know, usually when I show people the kick wheel that are brand new, it's easier. Because, you know, I'll show people a kick wheel and they're like, wow, how do you do it? It must be so much harder, like blah, blah, blah. And that's totally misunderstanding what a kick wheel is, because an electric wheel is like sci-fi nonsense. There's a super powered motor in there, vibrating. You feel the power stroke of every turn. It's not easier. It's really not easier. People perceive it as easier because they get used to it and they get weird habits. And then they try the kick wheel and they say, wow, it's hard. But when I put first time people on the wheel, they have a way better time with the kick wheel because it's very natural and it's very simple. And especially people that have like good, you know, they're present in their life, and they're able to keep track of like their heart rate and their, you know, their posture, they don't have any problems. You know, it's good. So, you know, and that kind of leads me into kind of my next point is that on the kick wheel, you get a lot of different things other than just throwing with your hands. You get, you have to manage your level of fatigue because it's difficult, it's cardio, and it's a lot of work. And so when you're using it, you have to pay attention to your breathing. You've got to pay attention to your level of fatigue in your legs. You've got to pay attention to all these things that on an electric wheel you can kind of ignore. And that has some value on an electric wheel because electric wheels are very like trancy because you don't really have to move like hardly at all, which is cool. You know, that electric wheels do have value. But as just as a thing to promote health, you know, why not get some cardio? Like why not be in tune with your body? So you can see as I'm throwing here, and I do this when I'm high up on the hump, I'm not down like this. I'm actually going the total opposite way with my right hand where I'm pushing up. And so stuff off the top of the hump kind of gets like this sometimes. and it's just a different posture, and it's, you know, I think it's cool. It's you get some variety while you're throwing, which is worthwhile. Because like I said, you know, you get these chronic stress injuries where if you do something in the same range of motion over and over and over, especially if it's something very simple like factory work, you'll get full of knots, and your posture gets totally stuck. You know, and I've worked some like factory work. When I was packing fish in Alaska, it was just the same exact thing over and over. There was no range of motion. It was just like putting fish in a bag. My body was destroyed. Whoops. Yeah. So by using your kick wheel, you get everything. And something that I have noticed is that, you know, your whole body is connected, and the whole system, like your whole circulation, is connected. And the muscles close to the center of your body are bigger. You know, you've got your abdominals, you've got your pecs, you've got your big muscles of your back, and then you have your shoulders, which are a little smaller, and then the muscles of your arms, and you get progressively smaller muscles down to your hands. And there's a balance of pressure throughout the whole system. And when I come in and I want to throw fast, I've noticed on an electric wheel, I put all this stress through my arms and my forearms and my hands, but my whole system is not upregulated. My heart rate is down, my core muscles are not full of blood, I'm not pumped up at all. And so you kind of take all this tension into your hands with nowhere for it to really go. Like it's not flowing from large, from your heart, to small and keeping the balance of pressure. The flows are kind of blocked where you have all this tension in your hands, but then the other parts of your body have no tension. And yeah, I don't think it's necessarily the most conducive thing to health. So, you know, that's a consideration. And whoops. Well, I've cut the bottom off of every single one so far. I'm trying to stop doing that. Yeah, so that's a consideration. This is kind of like overall balance of everything, of your blood flow, of your fatigue, of like the upregulation of your whole body. And I have a hard time getting into it on an electric wheel because, like I said, my heart rate's down. I'm not like, it's like I'm not in it. Yeah, and that's another thing with the kick wheel. People kind of like, for some reason, think that it's slower. It's not. It's way easier because when you move too fast on an electric wheel, you pick up the vibration of the wheel, and the pots will go out of control. And on a kick wheel, there's nothing trying to force it out of control. It's just spinning. So you can be a lot freer with your motion because it's not going to get spun out of control, or it's not going to like pick up a vibration and have it amplified in a weird way. And you can make mistakes, of course, but the brand of mistakes is not the same. And the more that I've gone back and forth between the two, I find that on an electric wheel, I find myself thinking like control, control, control the whole time, and being very concerned with maintaining this like balance, not maintaining the balancing act against the wheel itself. And that is not the attitude that I want to bring to my pottery. I want it to be free flowing, and, you know, lighthearted, and have a vitality to it. And that's something a lot of potters talk about, is the sense of vitality, of life in the work. And, you know, that can mean all kinds of different things. And it's very personal as to, you know, you decide for yourself, what does it mean? What does vitality mean? What does it look like in a physical object? And if you may make enough pottery and you make clay a big enough part of your life, you'll find it eventually, because because clay is very closely tied to life, and it's just a very earthy thing. It's very close to the earth, and so you find the vitality eventually just through enough trial and error. It doesn't need to be analyzed to death. And yeah, something that I've noticed working in different studios is that a lot of the community studios that I've worked in are kind of like, sometimes I call them old ladies club, because often it is. You know, it's a bunch of retirees and they're in there to kind of like gossip and like chill. And you know, they don't have anything else to do, so they're like, well, let's go to the studio and, you know, make some stuff. And it's good. I'm glad that old ladies club exists. But I've noticed a lot of times that if I'm in there and I'm in a mood and I want to go hard and I'm moving around quick and doing stuff, I'm kind of getting like the side eye from people, like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, you know, why is he moving around so fast? And, you know, I've thought about that a lot, and I've thought, you know, am I doing something wrong here? Like, am I doing something wrong by being a lot and letting it overflow? And, you know, I don't think so. I think it's part of what vitality is the ability to be strong and to move fast and to make a lot of things, at least to me. And something that I remember, there's an Indian guru, and he has a lot of content, but his name's Sadhguru, S-A-D-H, which means uneducated. And his whole shtick is he's like, everything that I am telling you is like things that I've discovered on my own. Like I've discovered it coming from an internal place. But he knows a lot about different, you know, all the like traditional yoga stuff. But something that he talked about, he has like a foundation where people go to like, you know, meditate and like better themselves. He's like it's like a retreat or something. I don't know. I don't really like follow him, but I had a phase for it, you know, a few months where I went through his content. But something that he was saying, two things. One, he was talking about this kind of like people that get into like meditation or like spirituality. A lot of times it's very subdued. And he's like, you can get, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was basically like, you can get to the same place through like very calm and very still, or through like a lot of like letting it all out and having this like exuberant, unmediated flow where things come out in a very energetic way. And something that he said, he's like, I kind of prefer the like hyper energetic way of doing it because so many like people are already so subdued and the whole thing is very stale, and it's like, yeah, like meditation, spirituality, calm, calm, calm. And that's not the whole picture. That's not the whole breadth of the spectrum. And I think in a lot of ways, if you're always trying to maintain control and you're trying to maintain it very calm, you don't know what's in you. You don't know what's hiding in you if you just let it come out. It's like you're keeping yourself on a leash all the time, and you don't know what's going to come out until you let it come out. And for people that have, you know, problems like PTSD and these different things, a lot of times they can't heal until they let it come out, but it's very important that they have a safe space to do that because they might not be safe to other people. And I think that's one of the big difficulties in rehabilitating veterans or anybody with PTSD is they might not be safe to others, especially for men. I think it's a big concern with men is it's not necessarily about their own safety, it's about the safety of the people around them. And so, you know, that's kind of like a side thought, but related. And something I've been thinking about a lot lately is just this kind of like unblocking the flow and just letting things come out. And I have a video that's going to come out after this one about brushwork and unblocking the flow. And that video is not really related to like any sort of like hyper energetic or like rage, but it's the same thing of like unblocking what's in you and just letting it come out naturally. But yeah, anyway, like, yeah, I found that though, like this kind of attitude around ceramics sometimes that it's supposed to be this like very calm, very like quote unquote Zen, like trance-like thing. And it is, like both things are working towards the same place and both are aspects of ceramics, but there's a pervasive attitude in our society that wants everything to be like sane and normal and under control and like not weird. And there's this like violence that people put forth towards anything weird, anything that makes them uncomfortable, they will react with violence. And it's not always immediately apparent what violence is, but you know, you see somebody doing something that is weird and you tell them to stop, that's violence. You know, if they're not being violent and you are telling them or trying to control them, that is violence. And people project a lot of anxiety onto other people, which is violent. That's violent behavior. So just thinking about that, and I think there's a lot of value. I think an electric wheel is a very good place to find the like very still, very calm, because you barely have to move. And so when you're centering a piece of clay, you can sit there and sit on it and barely move at all. And it's very trance-like. And that was a big thing for me when I was starting, is just finding that stillness. And I guess my point is that that's not the whole piece of the picture. You know, sometimes you have to go hard. Sometimes you have to go as fast as you can and be unblocked in that way. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for thoughts on that. I am going to throw the rest of this hump, and I'm going to throw it fast and get into it and go hard. And if you want to just hang out and watch, feel free. And you know, it's not something, usually in my videos I'm like talking and like kind of working slow, but there's like another gear that most people don't get to see, because like I said, it makes people nervous and they're like, what the fuck is happening? Especially in a public place. So I'm just gonna sit here and throw this. If you wanna see somebody else throwing very fast, go watch Joel Cherico's video of him breaking the Guinness World Record, which it's been broken, but he broke the Guinness World Record on a kick wheel just like this. He did like 150 pots in an hour or something. It's very fast. Unfortunately, the footage isn't very good, but you can still kind of see like just the flow and the speed and the like control. And I think that's a big thing across all the topics I've talked about, is this idea of control. And by being like very calm and being like, I'm not gonna make any mistakes by going very slow, that's not necessarily what control is. Whether you're talking about pottery or you're talking about, you know, something like PTSD or something, it's like, that's not control. That's just avoiding, it's avoiding a certain aspect. And that, you know, that's not gonna lead to the unity or the yoga that people talk about. So anyway, that's enough words from me. I'm just gonna throw these, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Whoo, too fast. God damn it. And so doing this, I can kind of tell that I got like a little bit worked up talking so much and trying to throw and talk. And then so by going really, really fast, I can tell that I'm not kind of like, not quite zoned in the way that I am when I'm just throwing by myself. And that's the kind of thing that you can kind of observe when you try and go fast and just let it be unblocked. And, and then it's time to slow down a little bit. And I talk about that in the next video as well. Similar thing of like finding what is too fast just by trial and error. That's it. I think maybe one more thing that's worth mentioning too is that something that Sadhguru was also talking about in one of his things, probably the same video, is that when they bring people to their like retreat or like whatever it is, whatever it's called, they often do a lot of like stuff like painting and like exercise and all this stuff for a really long time because he said, people can't sit still unless they get very fatigued. And I think there's some element of that, of like, I think just in the modern world, it's hard to find like a healthy fatigue. You know, you can go to the gym, but that's never quite done it for me, because I also want my mind to be fatigued and my attention and my focus, you know, and all these different things at the same time. And I think craft in a lot of different mediums can give you that intense fatigue in a healthy way that will let you find the calm and like a meditative place. Right. Maybe he's still all right. Let's go, buddy. See if I can just give him a little help. Well, this one will be a weird one, but that's good too. Give him a little. Yeah, that'll be a weird one. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I wanted to be a little bit less than 30 minutes, but here we are, again, with a long video. But thank you for watching. Find some joy, make some stuff, let it flow. And I will see you in the next one.